Hey guys, welcome back to the latest episode of the Growing a Dental Practice podcast. I am your host, Mike Kennan from Patient Boost. In today's episode, I'm joined by Simon Raybould, Director of Sales at Thalamus. Thalamus describes itself as the ultimate dental patient education solution. Welcome to the show, Simon. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
Well, hey, Mike, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. This is actually my first podcast, so I'm now no longer a podcast virgin, hopefully.
Perfect.
And I know you're across the pond. I'm in here in Toronto, Ontario, obviously in Canada, and but like oddly enough, I used to live in England down the road from you, didn't I, in St. Albans? So
it's so honestly, when you reached out to me and I think you asked me where I was, and I said I was in St. Albans, and you said, "No way! Like I used to live there. Do you know this road?" And then I found out where you were now, and you're obviously in Toronto, and obviously that's where Sheila is. And I was like, "That's what are the chances that you've lived like near both of us at some point?" Well, not near. I wouldn't have been here when you were here, but yeah, you get what I mean.
It's a small world, essentially. We're all interconnected, I think, somehow.
Absolutely, and I've obviously, we've had a couple of chats before, and obviously I now see you bi-weekly on our dental business association meetings, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that the group you're kind of building up and creating is really valuable in terms of a network of. I've already connected with a couple of people to talk about potential opportunities to partner and work with each other. So that's a great initiative you're running.
Fantastic, man. That's awesome. So less about me, more about you today. So can you, before we dive into what Thalamus is, tell the audience, a bit more about you. So what's your background? How did you get to this point?
Well, I've been in the dental industry for about 10 years. We had a business called Bitebank websites, which here in Canada, we serviced the United States and Canada with a bit like what you guys do, website development. We had our own CMS. We did SEO, pay-per-click, patient notification and recalls. And we built that up over about a 10-year period. And then we actually sold it last year to one of our larger competitors called ProSites out in California. So we offloaded the marketing component. But we ever since we kind of, in about 2010 or 11, we started making these really cool patient education videos. They're short animated videos to help people understand, fairly complex procedures in our animation studio here. And everybody loved our videos so much that we thought, you know what, there's a market for this. And we created a waiting room TV product, which we're now moving over to this new platform that we launched. We launched it in March. We've been building it for about a year and a half. We've been planning it for about 4 years. And touch wood, it's going fairly well. But what it is, it's actually it's based around chairside. It's a chairside software. So some of the people listening, if you're in North America, might be aware of there are some players in the market from previous. Patterson Dental had something called Casey. Henry Schein had something called Guru. They never really took off for a number of reasons, which I'll go into in a minute. But we've actually launched. Essentially, it's a chairside app. So you show our videos on a Windows machine in the operatory. Also, there's an iPad app. You can also show it on Google Chromecast TV in the operatory on the big screen TVs. So the core of it is really chairside education to help increase case acceptance and revenue for a practice. And it's used by dentists, dental hygienists, treatment coordinators, assistants, and dental assistants. So chairside is the core of it. And then there's other components. So we have waiting room TV. Again, this content we've created specifically for the waiting room. It's got a broadcast quality channel. And anybody, obviously, you can't see anything at the moment, but if people want to take a look, they can go to thalamusmedia.com. So we'll send the link out later. Mm-hmm. So really cool waiting room TV. It has manufacturer content as well. So like over here, the Invisalign and Botox and CAD CAM, stuff like that. It has trivia, the weather, the news, a whole bunch of content for people in the waiting room. And then there's another component, what we call operatory room TV. And what this does is kind of cool. You can show our chairside videos on big TVs in the operatories. And when when you're not showing the videos, it shows relaxing content. So like drone footage, nature, wildlife, really 4K stunning content. There's even like walkthroughs of cities. So like you could click on Rome, and there's someone that walks through Rome, and while you're in 4K, while you're sitting in the chair, to help you take your mind off.
Fantastic.
The dentist.
Does it play music as well?
There is music as well. Yeah, you can have the content has music behind it. And then the fourth part is actually website videos. So I know we've worked with some of your customers where we actually have 50 of our videos on a dental practice website to help educate patients when they come on the marketing piece. And the other cool thing is you can actually email and text these videos from the apps as well. So.
Oh, fantastic! So you can send that. You could send it sort of directly to a patient to kind of almost follow up on any consultations you've had with them. Yeah,
to help with like hygiene recalls and stuff. But the videos themselves, some of the previous content that's out there, I'm not sure what the European market has in terms of content. I think there's Software of Excellence, but the Gurus and the Caseys, these big distributors had, it always felt like the content had been made by dentists to kind of impress other dentists. So it's like very clinical, not really, it didn't feel like it was designed for patients like me or my mom or dad in the chair. So what we've done is we've made all the videos short. So they're all about 20 to 60 seconds long. In our ADHD world, including myself, people can't really focus on much more than that.
Yeah.
Some of them are a bit longer because it's a bit more complex procedures. And then the second thing is we've taken out the blood and guts, so we don't show the gore, we don't show the drills, we don't show sutras. People are anxious enough when they're visiting a dentist anyway.
Absolutely.
And then the third component is really, it's very accessible. So it's almost like, well, if you can use Netflix, then you can use Thalamus. So a dentist doesn't want to be able to have to like click on a list and do this and try and work out how to show the video. There's obviously one thing we're very aware of is that dentists have very little time to show people content. Or an assistant can step in, or if it's a hygiene appointment. But it's really the next level of using technology and really good, well put together content. All the content's rendered in 4K. It's have some of the best animators in Canada. But it's really designed to increase revenue by increasing case acceptance. So, and the other thing is it's in multiple languages. So we have people in Texas and California and other places where Spanish might be the first language of that person or that patient, and English is their second. You can actually show them these videos in Spanish to help them understand why they need that procedure, what will happen if they don't go ahead with it in a timely fashion in terms of additional work or extra expense, and then also the post-op as well. So we're really proud of what we've created.
I say it's a pretty neat solution, and like you say, like it's the fact. Like I was going to ask you, like why does it help increase case acceptance? Obviously, because trying to describe these treatments to patients could probably take forever, and it could be a very alarming description.
Yeah, it's really this thing. A picture is worth 1,000 words, so a video is kind of worth even more than that. So this isn't for every practice. You have to kind of adopt it within the practice. It has to become part of your overall workflow. But by showing someone something that's concise, really well put together, it gets them to understand it. So some dentists are better than other dentists at explaining procedures. I've been to the dentist a few times for root canals, but no one's ever told me why I need a root canal. Basically, I just said, well, unless it hurts, I don't need it. I'll wait till it hurts and then I'll do it, kind of thing. Whereas if I watch my own video, I'm like, oh, waiting till it hurts probably isn't the best way forward. But the dentist, nobody tried to kind of help me understand why I needed, the root canals at the time. So it's kind of just they're hoping that I just say yes to get booked in. This will make you laugh. So for the waiting room TV component, that we used to have an old waiting room TV, and we're actually transitioning about our 4,400 customers from our old system over to our new system. But we have English customers. Okay. No, sorry, we have a bunch of Australian customers, not too many, but organically they found us. And the Australian market, they will listen to the North American accent. But in the UK, they're far less. Well, they won't actually. The Brits don't like listening to the North American accent. I think it's just too far away for them to kind of. So what we did is we actually all our videos we did voiceover talent. So we have British accent, we have North American accent, we have Australian accent, we have German.
Oh, fantastic!
Spanish, German, Spanish, French. But this is kind of funny how you can't please everybody. So we had a New Zealand customer that said they didn't like the Australian accent. Oh my gosh.
That's a bit of friendly rivalry.
Yeah. So and this is all basically a subscription model as well. So we live in a world.
I was going to say, how easy is it for someone to sign up for this?
It's really easy, and we can actually, if they mention you and Patient Boost, well, actually, I can give them a month trial, just complimentary. Just.
Oh, fantastic! You've heard it here first, guys. You get a free trial if you mention us.
Yeah, one of my team, or we'd set them up with a
fantastic
login, and they can try it out for a month. No credit card.
Fantastic. Awesome, man. And obviously, obviously it's what goes onto TV screens. Obviously, you're not providing TV screens.
No.
So how does it get into the practice?
So essentially when you sign up, you download the Windows app on the monitor, and that's how you manage the whole thing. Okay. And then it comes with a code you type in. And then if you want to use it on Apple iPads, you go to the Apple iPad store and download our app. If you want to use it in the waiting room or the operatories, then when someone signs up with us, we actually send out this thing called a Google Chromecast TV. It's the little white things. I think they're about £50, $70. But it's actually new technology. Our old system was run on Apple TV, but they're about $250, probably about £200. Whereas these are only like $70 or £50. So if someone has multiple ops, it's cheaper to get it running up in all these ops. But essentially the ecosystem is this Google Chromecast TV. And this technology is new. It's only about a year old. So we actually changed direction when they launched this. They hadn't even launched it. So essentially it's run for the big TVs. You use Google Chromecast TVs, these little media hub things that you just plug in the back of the TV. But then for the monitors, the PCs, you just download the app. It's a Windows app. And then for iPads, you just download the iPad app. But it's really easy to use. It's like using Netflix. It's kind of and then we give the licenses up to 10 devices within the practice before there's a bump in the subscription. But if you're a Patient Boost or I can just waive the light. If you have more than 10 devices, I can just waive it if you want.
Fantastic. Guys are getting all the value today.
Yeah, another deal.
So a few more questions for me, Simon.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking, this can go into someone's waiting room.
Yes.
Can practices advertise their services and treatments through the system?
For sure. You can add your own content. So if you have videos you've made, or you've made slides or PowerPoints or PDFs or whatever it is, you can just upload them onto the screen. But there is a really cool editor that we've updated, so people can actually create, like you can have a picture of a new, there's a whole bunch of templates that you can populate with your own content. So welcome to Smith Dental. You can put your logo in there. You can create your own content for sure. It's important that the waiting room is branded as your practice. So create your own slides for sure. One thing that's kind of cool we did this time that we didn't have them before, we have an after hours setting. We noticed that some practices, you could see the TV in the waiting room from the shopping center or the shopping mall, or if it's on a high street or out in the street. So there's an after hours setting, and you can actually promote your practice while people are walking by it. So it acts as a billboard.
Yeah, perfect. I think we talked about this on a one-to-one Was it you or someone else?
Uh,
No, actually, I just realized it's a client of ours said it. He has a screen like this in his practice, and it looks like a nightclub at night.
that's excellent. But,
It's like it's raving. But that's
one,
great. And yeah, go
one,
ahead.
well, one other thing we can the system does is like for the waiting room, you can actually schedule content. So let's say you have a specialist coming in on a Wednesday, an ortho or somebody like that. You can actually show content relevant to that specialist. So those people are watching content based on who they're going to be able who they're seeing, and it's quite easy to schedule it. You just go in and schedule, and we also react to feedback as well. So over the years, people have asked for certain topics or videos that are missing from our collection, and I'm actually working on one at the moment with a lady here in Canada who's kind of an expert on this area called oral systemic link. And this is basically how your teeth relate to the rest of your body, and the plaque goes down and damages your body. And I didn't know anything much about oral systemic link, and I've learned so much about it now. It's kind of, wow, this is amazing, and it's so true. We don't, at some point in history, our head got, our mouth got removed from the rest of our body, and the dentists look after your mouth. But really, it's all medical, and our mouth is so tied to the rest of our body, but it's not really, it's being talked about more now. So we're creating a series of videos that kind of show the connection between your oral health and the overall health of your body. And the more I read about it, the more I realize that if you ignore your oral health, it's basically it shows you the status of the rest of your body, your tongue and your teeth. It's which I didn't even think about.
Absolutely, it's definitely a topic that's becoming more and more talked about. Like I've had loads of people recently talk about your mouth is the gateway to your health. Like it's that kind of a dentist can pick out quite a few things, sort of symptoms of a lot of bigger problems.
And we have videos relating to like oral cancer detection. We work with a distributor here, or sorry, a product here called Velscope, which is like one of the main like UV thing you put in your mouth to try and detect oral cancer early in the stage. So we work with them. We have our content in their practices where they have so sometimes there's manufacturer tie-ins as well. But yeah, it's the whole thing is really designed to be just very easy to use. But it's not for every practice. You have to kind of be the sort of practice that understands the importance of how visual aids can actually help understand.
I was going to say it's probably for the sort of practices like that want to go to the next level, because it's definitely like it's kind of like not every practice is going to see the benefit of it, but the ones that are, they could go on to create have multiple locations, and really it's almost the ones that are focused on the patient journey and making the experience about the patient. This is a fantastic way to educate them, keep them in the loop. People, not everyone likes going to the dentist, but if you've got someone showing you like a really thorough, detailed explanation of treatments, you're going to trust the dentist more.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's basically the subscription is fairly low anyway, and it can pay for itself with one consult. If someone watches a video and they go ahead with that procedure or treatment, then it's paid for itself. So it's really
absolutely. I was going to say if it increases, it's like a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
For certain, because you're gonna increase case acceptance, so that would pay for it anyway. And I just love the fact, I don't know if you've heard it in other practices, but there are some situations where the practice doesn't, or patients don't know the full treatment list of a practice.
Yeah.
So they're not fully aware of what their practice can offer them. So I've heard stories of dentists seeing like regular patients that have come in for like their yearly checkup and they've had Invisalign, and they're like, well, why didn't you get it from us? It's like, well, I didn't know you did it. So like, I'm just thinking like from your waiting room product, showing some of your higher end treatments, you get one or two people buying that every month. And again, that's also going to cover the cost of the system. And
for sure. It piques a conversation from the waiting room, and basically you're either going to be looking at your phone or you're going to be watching the videos. A lot of waiting rooms just have a TV with nothing on it, or they're just showing Jerry Springer or something like that. So you may as well make use of that time while those people are sitting there. but yeah, it's interesting. And also, like, what happens is in the back end, there's content for Invisalign plus about 2 or 3 other of the, or a few more of the teeth align companies. So someone doesn't have to have, you choose the one that you're actually selling, or offering in your practice, and that's the content that's shown. So, and if something's missing, then we make it and put it in there.
Oh, fantastic! So do you already have like your Invisalign, your ClearCorrects, that kind of thing already sort of queued up?
Yeah, it's all in there in a playlist. You just go in and you click the one that you like, and then you add. And it's all drag and drop. Yeah, so it's a combination of it's education, kind of entertainment, and then kind of just entertaining someone while they're there. So some practices say, you know what, in my waiting room, I just want the relaxing content. I don't want to do any of this. So they just have they just show the relaxing content. You can kind of configure it how you want it to be configured. Yeah, and it's kind of cool. But we've just our old waiting room system, our old one was really cool. But this is kind of the next level in terms of really a broadcast quality waiting room experience. But it's all tied in, and you mentioned it, the patient journey. So basically, someone comes in, sits in the waiting room for 5-10 minutes, sees some stuff, goes in, talks to a treatment coordinator or whatever. Right? They show some videos. They email them or text them to watch them after again, or if they didn't get time. Then they go into a dental hygienist. They'll show some recall type videos. The dentist might show a video. They might have ones that their favorites, or the assistant, while the dentist is doing something else, the assistant might show someone a video. But it's really, the technology is so new that even as little as like here in North America, 7 years ago or 6 years ago, we'd have to ask, do you have Wi-Fi in your practice? And they would say, now we know that everybody has Wi-Fi, so we don't, in the bandwidth, okay?
You don't need to do that anymore. Yeah.
And also, we used to have to ask, do you have big TVs? But big TVs now, you can go to Walmart or wherever and get a big TV for $500 or $200-300.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? TVs are so relatively inexpensive these days, aren't they? Like, considering you used to pay, thousands of pounds for like a plasma TV, and now you can get like a an LED TV, like massive one for like say $500. Mad.
My friend just bought 2 85-inch TVs for his house. I'm like, why do you need
85?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Actually, I walked into a friend of mine, Hazel. So Hazel does social media for dentists, and I went and stayed with her last week. And I walked into her lounge, and it wasn't 85, it was like 60. I was like, why do you need that big? Like, and she's like, I want to get a bigger one. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah, no, these are 85 inches. It basically covers the whole wall. It's bizarre.
That's mental. So something that I'd love to ask you is, have you got any like success stories of, practice owners in the US kind of making use of the system and having some really good sort of, success stories with it?
Yeah, we get regular anecdotal stories about helping case acceptance, and we're actually working with a DSO, or a dental service organization here in Canada, to actually get some real statistics behind it. So to create like a little white paper where you showed 100 people this video, these 100 people didn't see the video, these X amount of percent went ahead with the procedure. So we want to move away from anecdotal to actually having, but really it's that we need the scale of this one that we're working with to help actually give us those statistics.
That would be fantastic. If you could say like patients are like 50%, I'm just making it up, like are 50% more likely to accept a case, like an implant case, if they've seen one of your videos, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's what my ultimate goal is to work towards that. But we need the volume of a large DSO to help us kind of construct all that, and then kind of groups where they're not showing the videos and groups where they are showing the videos. But ultimately, that's what there are some other statistics and stuff, but people, and also we have like our retention rate. Once someone signs up, they never seem to leave. So we're a subscription-based business, thank God. But
you said that as if like, oh, they never go.
No, we're lucky, but hopefully we do a good job. It works for them, so they carry on paying their subscription, but we add content on a regular basis. So every 2 months.
You're not resting on your laurels. Like
No,
you're continuously improving it, which is fantastic.
For sure. And but anybody can go and have a look on our site. We have a list of all our titles, and there's a link to like a clip of each of the titles. But if anybody wants to try it out, they just need to contact me, and I'll set them up with the whole thing.
Perfect. So a demo. Perfect. That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's such a good product. And I'm looking forward to trying to get more of our clients to look into it and play around with it. That's cool. So I just want to ask you to sort of wrap things up, Simon. You've been in dentistry, like you said, 10 years now. You've spoken to a fair few practice owners. You've seen the highs and lows. What would you say is like your number one piece of advice to anyone who is thinking about buying or starting a dental practice?
It's usually the dental associate who's kind of looking to move away and go off on their own, but sometimes people are buying practices or hygienists. It could be anybody. Like I would say, take the risk when you're young. So I've been risk adverse over the years, and my wife says I'm risk adverse, but when you're young, you can absorb it. So even if you make wrong decisions, which hopefully you won't, don't take the easy option. The hard option is to get funding, and pay. It's stressful, but do it when you're as young as you can, because you can always come back. The older you get, you have more responsibilities. So you got mortgages and kids to pay for, and this, that, and the other. But just go for it. If there's someone willing to lend you the money and you think you know what you're doing, go for it for sure. But also get good business advice. So dentists really, they're not taught very much, if anything, at dental school about running a business. They probably now have courses and things attached to it, but their job is to be a physician, not to run a business. And I think sometimes they make the mistake that they can do both at the same time. So there are a lot of spouses that help, or the business partners, but be open to taking advice. And also, I always say, when you start up the business, set certain standards and levels of how you operate at the start. It's easier to start as you mean to go on than it is to change things over time. So your front office is so important. If someone phones up and it's a query, an inquiry, then that's a potential sales lead. If they just hang up and don't ask them any questions or take their details, you just lost revenue. So it's like the front office is so important.
Oh man, that happens too often.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then also, use the software that's out there. So we had a patient notification and recall system, but a practice that doesn't have one of these systems, like over here, it's like, I don't know, Lighthouse or Recall Max, Demand Force, all this sort of stuff, all those ones. If you don't have one of those, it's crazy. Like they pay for themselves a bit like Thalamus does in terms of case acceptance. It pays for itself in the first month. So if you have a practice that's not using a recall reminder system, why not? That's ridiculous. But I still think only about 30 or 40%. It used to be 20% a few years ago. So that's a massive opportunity for So use and also the call trackings. Engage with an agency like yourself who can help with marketing and bring in practice. Invest in what you need to invest. So have a nice website. Engage with someone that can help you with Google reviews and Facebook reviews. So you've got to put time into running the business, both from an operational but also from a marketing perspective to bring in new patients. Because you can't, like, sometimes people say to us, "Oh, we have enough. We have enough patients already. We don't need any more patients." It's like I'm guessing.
How often do they say that? Because
they're not the owners of the business half the time. So okay. I'm guessing that the owner of the business won't say that.
Because I do think like a lot of practice owners should focus more on retention. Like I think that is an element that they probably neglect a little bit too much. But even if you had like the perfect retention, there's obviously going to be some patient attrition anyway, because people move away, people sadly pass away. There's just naturally decline over time. So you're always going to need some level of new blood, if you like.
And what happens if you have an associate that leaves, sets up themselves? takes
Yeah.
some of your patients with you, or what happens if another practice opens down the street? So you might have enough patients, but you might not always have it. So why would you not try and grow your patient, volume over time? And ultimately, every dentist has most have some sort of exit strategy, whether formal or informal, even if it's just giving it to your son or giving it to your associate. If you rest on your laurels, that's a recipe for disaster, I think.
Absolutely, man. Well, you've just, I think, I don't think there was one bit of advice there. It was a lot of fantastic advice.
I don't know. I'm old now.
That's good, man. Honestly, no, it's what we'll say wise.
Wise, yeah, okay. I'm wise. Old.
Excellent. But no, honestly, Simon, fantastic. Like really, really insightful. Obviously, the product is fantastic. Definitely would recommend anyone to check it out, and obviously try and book a demo with Simon. Simon, if people want to get in touch with you, how can they contact you? What's the best way?
Email is the best. So simon@thalamusmedia.com, THALAMUS media.com, or just there's only a couple of Simons on LinkedIn. One of them is what is he? He's a speaker, a coach up in Newcastle, and he looks a bit like me on LinkedIn. So you'll either get him or me.
Yeah. Well, luckily for listeners, we will be putting the contact details in the show notes. So if you do find Thalamus a little bit difficult to spell, don't worry, it'll be in the show notes. And I think that's a great way to end the show, Simon. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me, Mike. And there's always a gin and tonic for you here in Toronto.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure I will be back in Toronto some point this year, and I'm sure we'll have to go out and have that G&T.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Cheers, Simon. Catch you later.